Creepypasta time. In the apocalypse, I work for a company that exterminates mutated creatures. Alligators are pure hell. So, I already told you about my first encounter with what I like to call a cow demon. They still scare me the most out of all the horrors I've met, but a close runner-up would be the mutated alligators. My initial run-in with one of them occurred shortly after I lost Rick and received my new partner in crime, Liam. Now you treat Liam real good, understand? Jeremiah, my boss, told me that same day. He's a real up-and-comer. And honestly, there's not much talent in this organization. Make sure he doesn't kick the bucket, since I'm not sure he'll be a good fit for you if he does. I thought about how hard it would be to find a good replacement for Rick. True, the man was a coward, didn't help out much. But he kept all the supplies in order, knew when to get the fuck out of my way, which is 90% of the battle. On occasion, he'd fire his gun when I damn well needed it. Liam turned out to be alright, although he had a perpetual sour expression on his face. He was bulkier than Rick, which would come in handy. He also seemed more thoughtful. Cerebral, maybe, but not sure if that's the right fit. If nothing else, Liam was definitely quieter than Rick. Always looked as if he was scanning the horizon, searching for predators and prey alike. After a few hours, I felt slightly more confident with him at my back. We fell into a comfortable, nonverbal rhythm. You know, you don't seem half bad, I said, giving Liam a friendly smile. Or at least trying to. The setting sun was baking us despite its descent, and his cantankerous expression appeared to deepen despite my attempt at being friendly. Thanks. You too, he replied, the man's gravelly voice a mismatch to his otherwise youthful aura. There was another uncomfortable silence, and as I looked out over the horizon at the merest sliver of orange-red sun, I cleared my throat. Listen, kid, if we're going to be clearing the wastes together, guess I'm trying to say, don't be afraid to loosen up. Let's shoot the shit. It'll pass the time quicker, I said. Liam glanced over at me, raising an eyebrow. His jaw clenched. I could practically feel the anger radiating from him. I just took this job because I'm interested in the reproductive patterns of the mutated alligator, Liam replied. And for the money. I need to make a living somehow, especially since my old man. Then it was Liam's turn to clear his throat. He, died recently. Got too close to the Warrens for his own good. I didn't know what to say after that, and let the boy return to his stony silence. Soon enough, full nightfall came upon us and I got the creeps again, petting Rio more to comfort myself than him. The horse was pretty self-sustaining, until things got hairy enough that the only thing which made sense was to run as quick as a lightning bolt in the other direction. I still wasn't sure why this alligator we were hunting chose to dwell in the middle of the arid wasteland. Way Jeremiah told it. Such a thing wasn't uncommon. Actually, more common than not, again, according to Jeremiah, and I knew from experience he wasn't so reliable with his facts. We came upon the area where it had last been sighted. A rundown, abandoned shack squatted in the middle of a sandy pit, and I heard strange noises coming from the slightly crooked structure. I gripped the reins tightly, and Rio whinnied and came to a halt. Don't have a good feeling about this, I said. I'm not a coward. I can face whatever's down there, came Liam's retort. Rio handled the decline into the pit surprisingly well, not slipping once. I petted him and whispered in his ear not to get spooked. We could handle this. Liam was clearly unmoved. He fiddled in his sack for something, and I made sure the trusty shotgun I carried was ready to go at a moment's notice. Checking ammunition, its condition, everything. I hesitated at the door, and Liam did the same. But more out of a sense of scientific curiosity than anything, was the impression I had. There were sounds which acted as deterrents from entering, and all of a sudden I realized I had taken Rick's place as the coward of the group. Fuck, Liam didn't look scared at all. Just stoic. I kicked the door in and was astounded to see another skinless freak of nature. Its jaws and glowing eyes were similar to the cow demon's, and it had 3 legs on each side. It started to make a coughing sound. This time, I heard Liam exclaim in fear. What the fuck? He said, sort of betraying himself. The alligator growled mid-cough, but there was something else happening. Its coughing was getting worse, bubbling, fleshy sounds were emanating from somewhere deep in its throat. I held my weapon steady. Even though instinct told me to fire, another deeper instinct told me to hold off on pulling the trigger. Surprisingly, Liam followed my lead. The alligator gave one final, almost traumatizing cough, and the horror inside me came to a boiling point as I saw two smaller, skinless alligators fall from its mouth, bathed in some sickening demonic stew. I gave a shriek, and Liam echoed the sentiment. We both fired our weapons at the same time, but the fucked up thing was the things multiplied. From 2 to 4, and from 4 to 8. They stopped at that number, and I frantically fired at them. Liam did the same, and we were down to one of the baby gators, which launched itself off the floor and onto me. I fell to the ground, struggling with it. A state of pure terror took over. I tried throwing it off in a wild frenzy, but it held onto my hands with curved claws that were worse than the cow's because they substituted for fingers. "I should let this thing kill you," Liam said. "It'd be fitting, I think." What the hell are you talking about? Get this fucking thing off me." The baby alligator's gaping jaw stretched as it got closer. I screamed, trying to keep its serrated teeth at bay. At the last moment I heard the discharge of Liam's weapon. The creature fell limp against me. I tossed it off without so much as a second thought. What the hell was that for? I was angry and absolutely terrified, body shaking. "Well, you let Rick die. I'd say it'd be fair, don't you?" Liam replied. "Why, you knew Rick?" I cursed Jeremiah for his shortcuts. He'd always find recruits, personal conflicts be damned. He'd only tell me after that fact. Or more like, wait for me to figure it out. I studied Liam's face. "I thought you looked familiar," I muttered, wiping blood from my face. Couldn't put my finger on it. I wasn't able to dwell on this information, though, as more baby alligators slipped through the open door. I swore again, wondering where the fuck they had come from, and pointed the shotgun at them, sneering at the inevitable onslaught. Liam and I defeated them, but not without taking our bodies to the brink. Covered in blood, we trudged to our horses about an hour later. Later, on the other side of the portal, this is how I access the apocalypse. It's technically a separate dimension from our own. I thought about what happened. Liam saved me, so at least there was that. But those alligators were terrifying. Dread filled me just thinking about them. The way they multiplied made me lose sleep, and the way each of their 6 legs worked, like little. The similarities caused a violent shiver to work its way up my spine. I woke up in the middle of the night to a ear-pricking screeching sound. Startled, I saw a baby alligator perched on the windowsill, staring at me with beady white eyes. It opened its jaws, and I reached for the shotgun next to the bed.